Okay, welcome back to the middle of a game between Mako and Wizzerinus. Mako is on blue-black Reflected Veil, the combo deck that looks to use Thin the Veil with Reflected Moment to take a bunch of turns in a row. And Wizzerinus is on black-red Tyrant from Univer, which is a black-red mid-range deck that also has the combo of Tyrant's Breath with Hatcho's Maneuver to make a bunch of tokens. So they're both mid-rangey / control decks with really good 2-card synergy inside of it. And Wizzerinus plays pay up on their first turn, naming Thin the Veil. Mako decides to discard Reflected Moment instead, so Wizzerinus does get a treasure. In case Mako doesn't, well, I guess Mako really wants Thin the Veil in hand, and they're not really worried about what Wizzerinus can play on too. I mean, if I was in Mako's spot, I would discard Thin the Veil because you don't really need Thin the Veil until later. You have Dark Bargain to do stuff until then. I think here you just play Dark Bargain and draw 2 cards. So Karaja Hegex, that's a pretty good. Well, no, you don't have blue yet. You need to draw land off Dark Bargain. Wizzerinus draws a land. I think here Wizzerinus just plays Sophia and swings, because they don't actually have a 3. Or actually, they just play Profane Emissary, because they need to wait a turn before Profane Emissary fetches the Polyp Pools. And Polyp Pools will make Tyrant's Breath copy itself, so you do want some Polyp Pools in play before you play your Tyrant's Breath. But no, Wizzerinus is just going to lead off on Sophia. Actually, Sophia exiling cards from Mako's deck does matter because they have Thin the Veil. So if Sophia manages to hit every copy of Reflected Moment in Mako's deck, then Mako can't Thin the Veil combo anymore. Okay, seems like Mako doesn't really know how the interface works, so they've actually revealed the card that Sophia exiled. But Sophia is supposed to exile the card face down. Wizzerinus is going to use their last mana from the treasure to Valdez the opponent, I guess. Well, I mean, Wizzerinus knows half of what's in Mako's hand, so they can name with that knowledge. They name high, which gives Mako a choice of what to discard because they have 3 4-cost cards. I would probably discard Ball's Descent because it doesn't really do anything right now. Yeah, Mako discards Ball's Descent. It also gets an enchantment into the yard for Thin the Veil. Or actually, you know what? If you're going to try to get card types in the yard, you already have Dark Bargain for enchantments. Well, Mako draws another Dark Bargain. Do they get a land? No, that's really bad for them. They need to play out Dark Bargain this turn in order to draw a land. They still fail to draw a land. Yeah, they're really far behind now. Okay, do they finally draw a land? Well, this is a land, but it's tapped and also doesn't make blue. But on the bright side, at least it gets rid of 2 cards from Wizzerinus' graveyard. Unfortunately, neither of those cards are important because Wizzerinus' deck does have some graveyard synergies with Hatcho's Maneuver and stuff, but not with those cards. And Wizzerinus can pretty freely play Profane Emissary now. But they might just want to Sophia again and get another swing in. Because Sophia is pretty hard for Mako to deal with right now since it's immune to sorcery speed removal. Seems like Wizzerinus is just going to play Profane Emissary in anticipation for next turn. And they're going to play Molten Falls tapped. Mako does draw their 4th land, so that's pretty good for them. And Shifting Mass will make blue eventually. So they currently have 3 card types in the yard, so they can't Thin the Veil for 3, but I don't think they want to. They're going to play out Paleontologist, which will allow them to bin an artifact and a tribal land with Polyp Pools. So that will increase the number of card types to 5 in yard. And then they just need a creature in the yard, which Paleontologist is a creature, and then they can Thin the Veil for Reflected Moment. So they will have Thin the Veil for Reflected Moment up next turn if Wizzerinus decides to attack or just kill the Paleontologist some way. I wonder if Wizzerinus knows about that, and if they're going to try to play around Mako getting all 6 card types into the yard by just not attacking this turn or killing Paleontologist. Or actually, is there something that Wizzerinus can do to play around that? Because, like, Paleontologist is going to have to die eventually in order for Wizzerinus to really progress the game at all. I guess they can probably hold back and wait until they get some sort of hand attack that can get rid of Thin the Veil. But Pay Up doesn't really do it because Mako can just always discard Tabia, which will get a creature in the yard. Actually, Mako can just wait and discard Karaja Hegex, get their 6 card type that way if Wizzerinus decides to not kill the Paleontologist. And yeah, Scorch really doesn't help here because that still kills the Paleontologist. Actually, Wizzerinus forgets to fetch the Polyp Pools with Profane Emissary. That's pretty interesting. I guess they figured that they don't actually need Profane Emissary, or they don't want Profane Emissary to attack or block right now because that would kill Paleontologist. They're just going to let Paleontologist do whatever. And they're going to cast Valdez from exile. I mean, that works, but again, oh yeah, and Wizzerinus doesn't attack here, so yeah, they are playing around the possibility of Thin the Veil for 6. Or actually, Wizzerinus knows that Thin the Veil is in Mako's hand, so of course they're playing around it. They know that they have to. Yeah, but unfortunately, This can't really prevent Mako from discarding a Planeswalker. Well, actually, does Mako not have an instant in the yard yet? Right, so they can just unforget and get the instant in the yard that way. So yeah, not much Wizzerinus can do to prevent the Cinder Veil for Reflected Moment next turn. Wizzerinus is finally going to fetch Polyp Pools with Profane Emissary. I don't think that's the right play here because that does nothing to help you against the Veil for Reflected Moment. In fact, you probably want to not do that so you have a chance of top decking a discard spell that would... Actually, what's even in Wizzerinus deck that would prevent Mako from just winning? Oh, Prying Inquiry, I guess. So they shouldn't be Profane Emissary for Polyp Pools here because they have to top deck Prying Inquiry to prevent the Thin Veil combo. Unless they're thinking about using Profane Emissary to fetch up Kala's Abomination. I guess that also makes sense, but Kala's Abomination doesn't help here. Mako can just pitch 2 cards and now they got Thin Veil still in hand. Oh, Wizzerinus gets Polyp Pools. Alright. Yeah, so it seems like Wizzerinus is not going to try to prevent the combo. And I think Mako probably gets a pretty easy win once they get the combo up. Wizzerinus plays out Sophia too. They're just trying to go all out right now. And they swing in with their entire board. Mako more than happy to block with Paleontologist. I guess Sophia exiling Reflected Moment is a possible win condition for Wizzerinus. And that's why Mako decides to block Sophia instead of anything else. Mako decides to unforget. Oh, they can unforget for Thin Veil, so they have a second Thin Veil for their second Reflected Moment. They're gonna fetch Violent Collapse instead. I don't think Violent Collapse really does anything right now. Yeah, it doesn't kill any of Wizzerinus' creatures either. Why are they fetching Violent Collapse? Well, either way, Mako cracks their Shifting Land now, and they get the Violent Collapse that they fetched. Still not sure why they fetched that. Well, now they just Thin Veil here for Reflected Moment, right? Like, that's just a foregone conclusion. They even have 7 card types in yard at this point. Yeah, there's Thin Veil, and there's Reflected Moment. They do get 2 turns in a row, but without fetching the second Thin Veil after Unforget, there is a chance that Mako can't continue to keep going. They draw a Shifting Cascade on their first extra turn. I think you just play out Karaja Heligex and then minus it once, and then minus again next turn, and hopefully it digs you into something. Yeah, that's what Mako's doing. So Karaja Heligex, using the third ability to scry 1 and then draw a card. They draw into another Karaja Heligex. Wait, they didn't bottom the second Karaja Heligex? Wait, what are they doing? That, and then they just waste their mana. Yeah, I'm not sure what Mako's doing. Okay, and now they're on their second extra turn, and they don't actually get to continue going because they didn't fetch the second Thin Veil for some reason. Off the Unforget earlier. They just have a Violent Collapse stuck in hand, which only kills Valdez right now. Doesn't even answer his other 2 creatures. Well, they're going to try to dig again, I guess. Okay, they finally bottom a land, and they draw another land. Okay. Seems like they're not going to get there, even though they got the combo off. Gonna play out Karaja Heligex number 2. Are you gonna minus it again? Yeah, seems like it. What's Mako looking for? I mean, Thin Veil is good, but yeah. Bottom the Profane Emissary and draw Brine Fleet Bay, which is not going to get there. Does Mako have a way to just prevent themselves from dying next turn? Because I don't think they do. They can play out Tabia and block, but Tabia just dies to Scorch, and then Wizzerinus swings in for lethal. Yeah, they just pass. Oh yeah, Wizzerinus also gets Tyrant's Breath in their turn. Yeah, that was a totally winnable game for Mako there. They had Unforget for Thin Veil. Anyways, look at the sideboard. Wizzerinus definitely wants Sealed Riftway in to deal with Mako's graveyard. And then past that, Infectious Eagle is pretty good in these grindy mid-range matchups. And Sealed Tomb also, because more graveyard stuff. On Mako's side, well, they probably want Villainy, or maybe not. I mean, Wizzerinus does have a way to deal with Villainy, but Villainy also doesn't kill anything easily because you need to cast 2 black spells in order to kill 4 toughness guys. Past that though, Afterlife takes his due. Probably decent in these grindy mid-range matchups with lots of creatures. And yeah, Clam Mauler, maybe that's also pretty good. We're game 2 now, and seems like Mako board in Wave of Decay. Wait, I don't think that card's good in this matchup. Like, the only thing you're paying off with it is 1/1 tokens, right? Because everything else has at least 3 toughness. I guess an unbuffed Profane Emissary, but you have to catch it in the right moment in order to actually kill it with Wave of Decay. Wizzerinus is going to end the turn, fetch with some Last Spires, get Molten Falls. Wizzerinus gets turn 2 Profane Emissary. I guess Mako is going to answer it with turn 3 Killermeller, or I guess Wave of Decay does work, right? I guess that's one situation where Wave of Decay puts in work, but like it's not an instant, so Killermeller would have done just as well. Initiative. So that's a good play next turn, I guess. Seems like Mako's deciding between Wave of Decay and Killermeller. Personally, I would just play out Wave of Decay right now. No, they play Initiative. Why? If they wait here, Profane Emissary fetches Polyp Pools, and now Wave of Decay stops killing Profane Emissary. They mill Dawson's Loot. Okay, so that's 2 card types in the yard. Wizzerinus fetches Polyp Pools with Profane Emissary as expected. Profane Emissary is now a 4/4, so it even attacks past Initiative. I have no idea why Mako played Initiative there instead of Wave of Decay or Kill 'em Weller. Or even just Unforget and turn. Like, there were so many better options than just play Initiative. And Mako blocks with Initiative. Are they intentionally trying to get cards into the yard? I mean, if you're going to try that hard to throw away cards in order to get stuff into the yard, you might as well just play Kill 'em Weller plus her or something. Mako has their own Profane Emissary, but a bit late because your opponent's Profane Emissary is a 4/4 right now, so they don't actually trade. And they just play Profane Emissary and pass. But this draws their second Polyp Pools. They still don't have triple red for Emissary of Antiquities. They can play Lucian. I think Lucian minus the Profane Emissary and swing is probably the best play here. And that's what Wizzerinus is going to do. Wizzerinus swings in with the 4/4 Profane Emissary. Mako, do they draw our first land? No, they draw Dawson's Loot. Are they going to play that thing? Well, I mean, nothing better to do, I guess. Now that means they can't play any of their 3 drops. They mill 2 cards, draw a land. Okay, so they do get their 4th land. They can play Kill 'em Weller this turn, or Unforget. But is there anything good that they can Unforget for? Well, no, they're going to play Kill 'em Weller and I guess use it as a murder on Profane Emissary. I mean, that works. Still leaves Lucian on board though. And there we go. Sealed Riftway from Wizzerinus is going to reset of Mako's progress in filling the yard with card types. Wizzerinus plus Lucian manages to hit a land off it, so they don't even have to lose life. Wizzerinus plays out Sealed Riftway. Run into another Sealed Riftway. And plays out the second Sealed Riftway. So Mako is definitely not going to get away with a good graveyard this game. Hatsu's Mover to face. Wizzerinus does have enough mana for Hatsu's Mover plus Tyrant's Breath next turn. But they don't actually have any good targets for it. I guess they can target their own things for Tyrant's Breath. And that might be just good enough because you're alright with sacking 1 token to make 7 tokens. Mako cracks their Shifting Land now. Gets another land. So right now they can't Thin the Veil. Whatever they try to thin for, Wizzerinus can just Sealed Riftway in response and prevent Mako from casting. But they can do something like play Thin the Veil, play Flood Depths untapped. But they're not doing that, so they can't do it anymore. But they can play Flood Depths untapped, play Thin the Veil, and if Wizzerinus tries to exile your yard, then you let it happen, and then afterwards you crack Flood Depth and sack Dawson's Loot to thin for 2. I don't think there's any 2-mana cards you really want to thin for here. So either way, I feel like Mako's probably losing here. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity to use Sealed Riftway. You have anything else to use your mana for. You can have a backup Sealed Riftway if your opponent starts filling again. So yeah, there goes Mako's graveyard. Wizzerinus draws Sealed Tomb, so even more grave hate coming through. They flip a Infectious Eagle. Okay, that's pretty good. So Wizzerinus can play out a land, play Infectious Eagle, and then hold up Sealed Riftway plus Seal the Tomb. And Mako just has to start sacking stuff. They can probably start by sacking the Dawson's Loot. Oh, I guess Mako can Wave of Decay for... Yeah, all of their lands make black, so they can Wave of Decay for 4, and then kill Infectious Eagle that way. Wait, Mako sacks a land. That has to be incorrect, right? Yeah, now they can't Wave of Decay for 4 to kill the Infectious Eagle next turn. Is Mako going to Unforget for the Afterlife takes its due? I guess that would kill the Infectious Eagle. Yeah, that's what Mako does. Still think that sacking Dawson's Loot and then using Wave of Decay to kill Eagle plus a token was a better use of their resources though. And then that means they could Unforget it for something else instead of Afterlife. Because now Wave of Decay is just sitting useless in Mako's hand. But yeah, here's Afterlife takes its due. But Wizzerinus still has Lucian up. Actually, if Wizzerinus really wants to, they can plus Lucian because it makes it indestructible. And then they can Tyrant's Breath onto Lucian and reprise the Hatsu's Mirror onto that Tyrant's Breath so that they get 3 times 7 tokens, so 21 1/1s. Or, you can just do it with Emissary instead. But if Wizzerinus plan to do that, they should plus Lucian to turn into a creature. So yeah, they're attacking now. Mako just takes. Emissary recasts the Tyrant's Breath. Wizzerinus reprises the Hatsu's Moon River onto the Tyrant's Breath. And then target all copies at Lucian. It's 31. Yeah, right, because Hatsu's Moon River also adds 1 damage, so and Emissary is also a dragon, so it's copied 4 times, so 4 times 8 is equal to whatever this thing is. Mako probably wishing that they used Wave of Decay for 5 to deal with the Emissary last turn, so that they could have used Afterlife to deal with this board. I mean, they can still top deck Violent Collapse, I guess. Or they can even thin for Violent Collapse, right? Does Wizzerinus still have Sealed Riftway up? Okay, yeah, it seems like Mako will be able to thin for Violent Collapse. They just have to sack Dawson's Loot as they're casting the Cyndaveil so that they have at least 4 card types in Yard, and Wizzerinus won't be able to stop Cyndaveil from fetching a 3-mana card with Seal the Tomb. Mako draws Dark Bargain. Well, so are they going to go for Cyndaveil for Violent Collapse and do it in the correct way so that they don't get screwed over by Seal the Tomb? Nope, they're not going to do that, so yeah, Wizzerinus just gets a Seal the Tomb. They're going to try to seal the Afterlife. I mean, it doesn't really matter which one they seal, because they're just trying to reduce the number of card types in Yard, and Mako concedes. Well then, I think Mako definitely did not play at their best in those games, but I guess, well, I'm not sure what to say about it. But anyways, Wizzerinus wins over Mako, so there we go. And we actually got to see the Tyrant's maneuver combo actually work out, despite the fact that it didn't really matter because Wizzerinus was going to win anyways.